Have you ever wondered why you feel so different from the people around you? Why no matter how hard you try, you never quite seem to fit in? You walk into a room full of people and still feel like a stranger. You share your heart, and yet no one truly understands what you carry inside. It's like your soul is on a journey that no one else around you can see, and deep down something inside you keeps whispering, you were made for more. That feeling is not a mistake. It is not confusion. It is a sign, a sacred sign that Allah Almighty is doing something special with you. You are not being pushed aside. You are being set apart. The loneliness you feel, the sense of not belonging, is not a punishment. It is preparation. Allah Almighty is not keeping you isolated to hurt you. He is isolating you to help you hear Him more clearly. Sometimes the only way He can speak into your soul is by removing the noise of the crowd. When you are called for something higher, the path becomes narrower, the distractions are stripped away, the company becomes smaller, because what Allah Almighty is placing in your heart cannot survive in ordinary spaces. Look at the story of Prophet Joseph, peace be upon him. He was given a beautiful dream, a vision that set him apart from everyone, even his own family, and instead of being celebrated, he was cast aside, thrown into a well by his brothers, sold into slavery, imprisoned, forgotten. But was he being punished? No. He was being positioned. Allah Almighty was not removing him from people. He was lifting him exactly where he needed to be. That is what happens when you are chosen. The journey doesn't always begin in comfort. It begins in silence, in separation, in surrender. The Quran says, indeed, with hardship comes ease. You may feel the hardship now, the rejection, the solitude, the stillness, but ease is coming, not just comfort, but clarity, not just peace, but purpose. Allah Almighty is not ignoring you. He is refining you. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, the people who are tested the most are the prophets, then those who follow them in righteousness. You are not alone in this. Every beloved soul that carried something great also carried solitude. Every heart that was meant to shine first had to be shaped in darkness. That shaping is not easy, but it is necessary. Maybe you have tried to explain your dreams to people and they laughed. Maybe you've tried to bring people along your journey, but they refuse to walk beside you. That does not mean something is wrong with you. It means something different has been placed within you. And different always comes with distance, not because you're better than others, but because your path is not like theirs. Allah Almighty knows what lies ahead. He knows what you need to let go of. And sometimes the only way He can free you is by setting you apart. You are not falling behind, you're not being forgotten, you're being refined, you're being shaped into someone stronger, someone softer, someone more faithful. And when the time is right, Allah Almighty will open doors that no rejection can close. He will place you exactly where you need to be. But until then, be patient with the process. Be kind to your soul. Let the loneliness draw you closer to Him, not further away. Speak to Him in the silence. Cry to Him when the world cannot hear you. Because those are the moments when the soul is truly seen. When Allah Almighty chooses someone for a great purpose, He doesn't start by giving them a platform. He starts by giving them solitude. Because before you can lead others, you must learn how to follow Him. And before He lifts you up in front of the world, He brings you to your knees in front of Him. That is not rejection, that is elevation, silent, sacred elevation. So if you are in that quiet place now, if you feel alone, confused or forgotten, know this, you are not being overlooked. You are being protected. You're not behind. You are being built. And what Allah Almighty is preparing you for will require a strength that can only be formed in solitude. Do not fear this season. Trust it, embrace it, because when Allah Almighty finally calls you forward, you will not only be ready, you will be unshakable. Have you ever asked, why me? Why was I made to feel so distant, so misunderstood, even when I've done nothing wrong? Why does it seem like I carry a weight no one else sees, a sadness I can't explain? You try to smile, you try to act normal, but deep down, there is an ache. A quiet ache that whispers, you're not like them. You feel alone, not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally. Did I take the wrong path? Is this emptiness a punishment? Let me tell you something that might change how you see this season. That loneliness you feel is not a mistake. It is a sign, a divine sign that Allah Almighty is doing something in you that cannot be done in a crowd. He is working on your heart in ways that require silence. He's purifying your intentions. He's removing the noise, the distractions, the unnecessary approvals, so that your soul can finally hear Him clearly. What feels like distance from the world is actually closeness to your Creator. You may feel overlooked, but Allah Almighty sees you. You may feel forgotten, but He has never stopped watching over you. The isolation you experience is not a sign that you are off track. It is proof that you are on sacred ground, a path that very few are chosen to walk. And yes, it is hard, because when Allah Almighty sets you apart, He often removes you from comfort first. He allows you to feel what others never feel, to experience what others never understand. But there is wisdom in this pain. There is mercy in this emptiness. Look at Moses, peace be upon him, raised in the palace of Pharaoh, surrounded by wealth, power, and status, yet even there he felt like an outsider. A part of him knew, I don't belong here. And when he was finally called by Allah Almighty, he was not called in the middle of a crowd. He was called in the wilderness, alone, in silence. Because the most powerful conversations with Allah Almighty happen when there is no one else around. The Quran says, and your Lord has not forsaken you, nor has He detested you. He has not left you. This feeling you carry is not rejection, it is redirection, it is purification, it is transformation. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, verily Allah Almighty tests the one He loves. So if you are feeling tested, if you are walking alone, don't let that pain convince you that you are unloved. It means you are deeply loved, deeply known, and deeply chosen. The chosen ones are not made in comfort, they are made in caves, in valleys, in lonely nights filled with unanswered prayers and quiet tears. They are made in silence, in stillness, in places where only Allah Almighty sees them. Because what He is building in them is not for show, it is for service, it is for strength, it is for sincerity. And sincerity is never born in noise. You may look at others and wonder why their lives seem so smooth, why they are always surrounded by people, why they are never misunderstood. But remember, ease does not always mean favor, and hardship does not always mean punishment. Sometimes the loneliest path is the most blessed one. Sometimes the quietest corner is the most powerful place. And while others may chase approval, numbers and applause, you are being trained to chase nothing but the pleasure of Allah Almighty. That kind of soul is rare. That kind of spirit is protected. So do not mourn the absence of people. Rejoice in the presence of your Lord. He is closer to you now than ever before. Yes, you may still cry. Yes, you may still feel the ache. But don't let the ache deceive you. It is not emptiness, it is space. Space Allah Almighty is clearing out so that He can fill you with something greater. A vision, a purpose, a strength that can only come from Him. Sometimes Allah Almighty has to strip away every voice around you just so you will finally listen to the one voice that matters, His. And once you hear it, once your heart begins to move to His rhythm, you will realize that you were never truly alone. You were just being drawn closer. So if you are walking alone right now, keep walking. If no one understands your tears, let them fall for Allah Almighty. If no one sees your struggle, know that He does. And if your heart feels heavy, lift it to Him. Speak to Him, trust Him, because He never leaves a heart broken without filling it again. And what He fills it with is always better than what was lost. Some of the most painful trials come to the ones chosen for the greatest tasks. You might feel like you've been carrying a weight on your soul that others around you simply don't understand. The pressure to stay strong, the expectation to keep going, the ache of being different, and the loneliness that comes with walking a path no one else can see. But what if I told you that this burden is not a punishment? What if I told you that it is a privilege disguised as hardship? When Allah Almighty selects a soul for something extraordinary, He does not begin by giving them comfort. He begins by placing on their shoulders a weight that refines them. Not to crush them, but to make them unshakable. What you're carrying today, the pain you feel, the confusion, the isolation, the questions that have no answers, these are not signs that you are broken. They are signs that you are being built. You are being trained for something greater than you can yet understand. Look at Prophet David, peace be upon him, chosen as a king, loved by his people, praised for his wisdom. But before the crown came the cave, before the celebration came the suffering. He was betrayed, hunted, forced to hide, all while knowing he was chosen. The pain didn't cancel his purpose, it shaped it, because the ones who are meant to lead must first be taught how to lose everything and still hold on to their faith. When you feel the burden weighing you down, remind yourself, this is not happening to destroy you, it is happening to develop you. You are not being buried, you are being planted. And every tear you shed, every prayer that goes unanswered, every door that closes is Allah Almighty shaping your spirit. A soul that will one day carry the weight of trust, guidance, and impact must first learn how to carry the weight of silence, of disappointment, of waiting. The Quran reminds us, Allah does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear. That means if this weight is on you, then you were made for it. If this pain is yours, then so is the strength that comes after it. He saw what you could handle long before you felt it. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, the greatest reward comes with the greatest trial. So when the trials come, don't be surprised, be strong, be aware that this is part of the pattern of greatness. Every prophet, every leader, every righteous soul, they were all tested, and not lightly. They were tested with loneliness, betrayal, grief, and exhaustion. But they endured, not because they had all the answers, but because they placed their trust entirely in Allah Almighty. Some of you are wondering right now why your path is so difficult, why your heart feels so heavy, why the people you love the most seem so distant, and why your dreams seem delayed. But the answer is simple. What Allah Almighty has written for you is greater than what you're asking for. And with that greatness comes preparation. He cannot hand you a mountain of purpose if your shoulders are not yet strong enough to climb. You are not the only one who has cried silently, who has stood in prayer wondering if your voice even reaches the heavens, who has sat in rooms full of people and still felt unseen. The chosen ones often go through this, not because they are forgotten, but because they are being refined through fire. Gold is not beautiful until it is melted. Diamonds are not formed until they are crushed, and hearts are not strengthened until they are broken and rebuilt by Allahul Multai himself. If you are in that breaking season, if everything feels too much, hold on. This is not the end, this is the beginning. The part of your story where Allah Almighty removes everything that was never meant to carry the next chapter. The relationships that were seasonal, the comforts that became distractions, the habits that no longer serve you. He is making room, not just around you, but inside of you. So that when He gives you the blessing, your heart will be ready to protect it, your faith will be deep enough to handle it. There are some blessings that cannot come until you grow strong enough to carry them. And there are some dreams that will remain delayed until your heart can hold them without pride. Allah Almighty knows the exact moment when everything will fall into place. But until that moment, your job is not to understand every pain. Your job is to stay faithful, to trust, to surrender. So the next time you feel the heaviness in your chest, whisper to yourself, I was chosen for this. Not because you are better, but because you are different. Because Allah Almighty saw something in you that even you have not yet seen. And He is shaping that unseen strength with every quiet struggle, with every test you pass in private, with every tear quit. And one day, when the season of pain has passed and the storm has cleared, you will look back and see how it all made sense. How every moment of hardship was leading you to a strength that was already written for you. You will carry your burden no longer as pain, but as proof. Proof that Allah Almighty does not call the perfect, He calls the prepared. There's a certain pain that comes with rejection. It doesn't just break your heart, it makes you question your worth. You wonder if you were ever enough, if you were ever truly seen. You gave your best, you trusted deeply, you expected support, but instead you were turned away. The doors that once opened easily are now locked. The people you relied on have gone silent, and you're left standing with questions no one can answer. But I want you to understand something. That rejection was not the end of your story. It was never meant to break you, it was meant to redirect you. It was Allah Almighty's way of guiding you away from what you thought you needed and toward what He has already prepared. Because sometimes the people you wanted to walk with were not strong enough to go where you are going. Sometimes the doors you were knocking on were too small for the vision Allah Almighty placed in your heart. Rejection feels personal, but in reality it is spiritual. When Allah Almighty removes something or someone from your life, it is never random. He's not just closing doors, He is correcting your path. And His correction is always mercy, even when it hurts. You may not see the wisdom now, but one day you will. And when you do, you will thank Him for saying no, for turning you away from what you thought was right, because what He had in store was far greater. Look at Prophet Joseph, peace be upon him, rejected by his own brothers, sold into slavery, imprisoned for a crime he did not commit. Over and over again, the people around him shut doors. But each rejection was actually a redirection. Every painful no was leading him to a greater yes. If his brothers had embraced him, he would never have reached Egypt. If he had not been imprisoned, he would not have met the key to his freedom. If the world had accepted him, he would never have risen to a position of honor and leadership. Rejection was not his downfall, it was his preparation. The Quran says, you may dislike something while it is good for you, and you may love something while it is bad for you. Allah knows, and you do not know. This verse is not just comforting, it is transformational. It teaches us that pain is not always negative, that what we lose is sometimes a blessing in disguise. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, if something befalls you, do not say, if only I had done this or that, but say, it is what Allah Almighty has decreed, and He does what He wills. This mindset is not about ignoring emotions. It is about rising above them, about knowing that Allah Almighty sees the full picture, even when all we see is a broken frame. Some of you are still holding on to the hurt, still replaying the conversations, still wondering why you were not chosen, not loved, not welcomed. But I invite you to look deeper. What if that closed door was saving you? What if that rejection was Allah Almighty protecting your heart from something that would have destroyed it later? What if He took them away because He knew they would have kept you from reaching your true potential? We often cry over people who walked away, but Allah Almighty sometimes removes what we want to give us what we need. And while the loss may hurt now, the healing will bring clarity. He's not asking you to understand it all. He's only asking you to trust, to let go of what is gone, to stop chasing those who did not see your worth, because your worth does not come from their acceptance. It comes from being chosen by the one who never makes mistakes. Rejection is redirection, and redirection is mercy. You were not meant to settle in places that were too small for your spirit. You were meant to rise, and in order to rise, you must be freed from what weighs you down. That is why Allah Almighty removes people. That is why He shuts doors, not to harm you, but to help you breathe, to help you see, to help you walk into what is actually yours. So if you are grieving something you lost, lift your hands in prayer. If you are hurting from someone who walked away, lift your heart in faith. Allah Almighty sees it all, and He never leaves a heart empty without planning to fill it with something far better. The people who rejected you were part of your training, but they are not part of your destination. The time will come when you will no longer cry over what left, because what is coming will make you understand why it had to be this way. You will see that you were never rejected, you were redirected, you were never unworthy, you were protected, and every door that closed was leading you to one that would never shut again. So walk forward, not with bitterness but with peace, not with revenge but with purpose. Allah Almighty knows what is best for you. He knows who belongs in your life and who doesn't. And the ones who left were never strong enough to carry your calling. Let them go. Trust the plan and keep walking, because what you thought was the end was actually the beginning. There comes a time in every chosen soul's journey where everything seems to fall apart. The people they trusted disappear. The dreams they once held so close seem to crumble. The comfort they built their life around is removed piece by piece, and the heart, once full of hope, begins to question, why this pain? Why now? Why me? It is a moment of breaking is not the end. What if it is the beginning of something sacred? What if the breaking is actually the making? Allah Almighty never breaks a heart to destroy it. He breaks it to rebuild it stronger, softer, wiser. When the soul has been called for something great, it must first be emptied of everything that holds it back. The pride, the dependence on people, the comfort in routine, the illusions of control, all of it must be stripped away, not to leave you empty, but to prepare you to be filled with something far greater. The pain you're facing now may not be punishment, it may be preparation. Look at Prophet David, peace be upon him. Before he wore the crown, he wore the pain of rejection. He was left out by his own family, sent back to the fields after being anointed, hunted by a man who feared his light, betrayed by the very people he defended. His life was not easy. But every season of breaking was shaping him. Every hardship was carving the strength of a king into his heart. Allah Almighty was not delaying his destiny. He was preparing him for it. The Quran says, indeed Allah is with those who are patient. Patience is not just waiting. It is trusting while you are breaking. It is believing while you are weeping. It is standing firm when everything inside you wants to fall apart. That kind of strength is only born in the breaking. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, know that victory comes with patience, relief with difficulty, and ease with hardship. Notice the pattern. Not ease before hardship, but after. Because the hardship is not just a test, it is a teacher. It is what turns weak hearts into warriors of faith. Some of you are in that season right now. You are looking at your life and wondering why things are so hard. You've been sincere in your prayer. You've walked away from what was wrong. You've tried to stay on the right path. And yet, instead of peace, you found storms. But let me tell you, the storm is not meant to drown you. It is meant to cleanse you, to purify what was never meant to stay, to remove what could not carry you into your next season. You may feel like you are losing everything, but sometimes losing everything is the only way you discover what truly matters. When the world around you is stripped away, you begin to see the face of your Lord more clearly. You learn how to rely on Allah Almighty. You learn how to walk by faith and not by sight. You learn how to surrender, and that surrender is where the making begins. The heart that has never been broken can never truly feel humility. The soul that has never been tested can never truly know its strength. And the believer who has never been crushed can never fully appreciate the mercy of Allah Almighty. That is why He allows the breaking not to cause harm, but to reveal beauty. There is beauty in a heart that turns to Allah Almighty after being torn by this world. There is honor in the tears shed in prayer when no one else sees. There is value in every whispered cry that says, "Oh Allah, I don't understand, but I trust you." Sometimes the doors you thought would open stay shut. The people you thought would stay walk away. The plans you made fall apart and you feel helplessness, but that helplessness is holy. It brings you to your knees. It makes you stop depending on yourself. It reminds you that everything belongs to Allah Almighty. And once you reach that place of complete surrender, you are no longer breaking, you are building. What feels like the end of your strength is often the beginning of His. When you have nothing left, you will find that Allah Almighty is more than enough. He will carry you through the pain. He will comfort you in the silence. He will guide you in the darkness. And when the time comes, He will raise you in a way that only He can. So do not curse the breaking, do not rush the healing. Sit in the silence, embrace the ache and whisper your pain to the one who hears, even what your lips cannot say. Your tears are not wasted, your waiting is not forgotten, your story is not over, it is still being written. And this chapter, though painful, is necessary, because when Allah Almighty writes greatness into your life, He begins with the foundation. And the foundation must be strong, it must be honest, it must be humble. That is what this season is about. He is making you into someone who will not just survive, but someone who will rise, someone who will lead, someone who will inspire others, not from a place of perfection, but from a place of having been broken and rebuilt by the hands of Allah Almighty Himself. And that, my dear brother and sister, is a privilege like no other. There's a kind of silence that breaks you. A silence where the phone doesn't ring, where the messages stop, where the doors stay closed, where even your own thoughts begin to sound too loud. You wake up and no one checks on you. You sleep with questions unanswered. You walk through your day invisible. And in that stillness you begin to ask, where is everyone? Where is the support? Where is the help? And eventually you ask the most difficult question of all, where is Allah Almighty in all of this? But let me remind you, He is right there, in the silence, in the space where no one else stands, in the stillness where every distraction has faded. He is not distant, He is closer than ever. The silence is not a punishment, it is an invitation, a sacred space for you to hear what you were too busy to notice before. Sometimes the loudest answer comes when everything else is quiet. We often associate Allah Almighty's presence with miracles, with big signs, with answered prayers. But He is also in the pause, He's in the delay, He's in the days where nothing seems to change. Because it is in those days that your faith is truly tested, and more than that, it is where your connection with Him deepens. When no one else hears your effort, He does. When no one else sees your effort, He records it. When no one else understands your heart, He cherishes it. Look at Prophet Moses, peace be upon him. His calling began not in a palace, but in a wilderness, isolated, alone, surrounded by nothing but desert and doubt. And it was there, in that silence, that Allah Almighty spoke to him directly. The moment of divine instruction came not in a crowd, not on a stage, but in seclusion. Because silence creates space, it opens the heart, it removes all the noise that keeps us from truly listening. The Quran says, "And when my servants ask you about me, then indeed I am near. I respond to the call of the one who calls upon me." Notice the promise, not that He is near only when you speak out loud, but when you call, even from within your heart, He listens, He responds. Silence does not stop your prayer, it amplifies it. Because it is in that quiet surrender that your heart speaks most honestly. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Remember Allah Almighty during times of ease, and He will remember you during times of hardship." This hadith is a gentle reminder. A reminder that we are seen in the silent seasons. That nothing goes unnoticed. That Allah knows when you are holding back tears in public and crying in private. He knows when you choose patience over despair. When you choose prayer over panic. When you choose to keep going even when your soul is tired. You may be in a season of separation from people, from routine, from all that once made you feel secure. And it may be frightening because we are used to being surrounded by movement. We're used to voices, schedules, interactions. But silence is not emptiness, it is healing. It is where Allah Almighty pulls you away so He can speak directly to your soul. Some of the most powerful transformations happen when you are least seen by the world. Because it is then that you are most seen by your Lord. When everything external goes quiet, your internal world becomes louder. You begin to notice your habits, your thoughts, your wounds, and you finally have the space to bring it all to Allah Almighty without interruption. This silence is not forever. It is temporary. But what you do in it will shape what comes after. Will you resist it? Fill it with noise? Or will you embrace it? Will you sit with it and say, "Oh Allah, teach me what I need to learn here"? Because in this quiet space, your heart is more receptive, your soul is more honest, and your worship becomes deeper. You begin to realize that your connection with your Creator is not dependent on how many people check on you. It is built in how often you turn to Him, especially when no one else is around. Let this be your moment, not of breakdown, but of breakthrough. Let this silence birth strength. Let it birth sincerity. Let it birth spiritual clarity. There are secrets Allah Almighty only reveals in silence, and there is healing He only delivers when you are still. So if you are walking through this quiet season, stop fighting it. You are not being punished, you are being positioned. He is teaching you to hear Him clearly, to love Him deeply, and to trust Him completely. And when the silence ends, and it will, come out of it with a heart that is no longer attached to this world, but firmly rooted in your Creator. And that is the most beautiful thing silence can give you. Here is a quiet truth that many overlooked. Your pain is not pointless. Every tear, every silent prayer, every sleepless night, every rejection, every unanswered question, it all has a purpose. You may not see it now, but Allah Almighty wastes nothing. Not a single sigh, not a single setback, not a single scar. If you are in pain, it means He is preparing something, not just around you, but within you. Many people think pain is a punishment, but what if it's a purification? What if Allah Almighty is not trying to harm you, but to heal you, to remove what is not meant to walk with you into the next chapter of your life? Pain softens what pride hardens. It humbles you, it draws you closer to your Creator, and in that closeness you begin to realize you were never truly broken, you were just being rebuilt. Look at Prophet Joseph, be upon him, betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely imprisoned, forgotten. But none of that was without purpose. His pain did not delay the promise, it prepared him for it. Every step of his suffering positioned him exactly where he needed to be. And when the time came, Allah Almighty lifted him. Not just physically, but spiritually. He was given wisdom, leadership, and honor. And more than anything, he was given peace. The kind that only comes after walking through the fire and trusting every step of the way. The Quran says, so be patient. Indeed, the promise of Allah is true. That's not just advice, that's a guarantee. If He has promised you something, it will come. Maybe not on your timeline, maybe not in the way you imagine, but it will come. Because Allah Almighty never writes a story without completing it. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, give glad tidings to the one who holds on during difficulty. So hold on. You may be at the very edge of your patience, but you are also at the edge of your breakthrough. This pain will not last forever. It will pass, and when it does, you will not just be healed, you will be transformed. Some of you feel like you've been overlooked, like no matter how hard you try, nothing changes. You've prayed, you've cried, you've tried to stay strong, and yet life feels heavy. But what if I told you that even in your lowest moments you are being elevated? What if I told you that the more you are tested, the more you are trusted? Allah